In this video, I'm going to show you the secret to fat loss. These are the exact same tips that I give to all my students, and they've all gone to see some amazing results. So you know it works. Before we get started, give this video a like, subscribe to my channel, and hit the bell to get notified every time I post a new video every week. There is an overwhelming amount of information about weight loss on the internet. If you Google how to lose weight, you get a mind-blowing 909 million results. How do you even filter through that? But there's actually just one rule that you need to follow when it comes to fat loss that trumps all of them. Are you ready for it? What you eat and when you eat are equally important when it comes to losing all your unwanted body fat. It's so simple, but a majority of people miss this concept completely, especially the when you eat part of the equation. If you want to get into the specifics of some of the concepts I'm about to talk about, then make sure you check out my other videos. I'm going to put some links in the description box, but this is more big picture stuff. If you're just starting out, or maybe you're finally willing to try something different, this video will get you 90% of the way there, because we've been led to believe for decades now through authoritative parroting that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, or you should be eating 6 meals a day, never skip a meal. But guess what? There's no scientific evidence to back up any of those claims. None. The problem is we don't really question it. We just accept it as the truth. We formulate our weight loss plan around it and wonder why it doesn't work. Back in the day, for example, I remember I would just force feed myself breakfast even though I wasn't hungry, because that was just the thing to do. I didn't want to miss a meal because that was bad for you. Or I would just mindlessly snack in between meals to keep my metabolism high, again, even though I wasn't really hungry. And over time, I developed a dad bod because of this. I also used to follow If It Fits Your Macros, or IIFYM. It's a very popular way of eating that a lot of weight loss experts out there sell. And it's based on the oversimplistic calories in versus calories out model, which is extremely flawed. But the premise of it is you have a specific amount of calories you can eat throughout the day. You just punch in your numbers, and as long as you're on a calorie deficit, you're fine. But one of the biggest problems of IIFYM is that it treats all calories equal. And this is what usually happens. People get sold on the idea that they can eat cereal, bread, pasta, low-calorie ice cream, and other types of junk, but as long as it fits their macros, they're fine. It's the dream, right? But you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that 100 calories of bread isn't gonna have the same fattening effects as 100 calories of eggs. It's just not. The former, bread, is made out of refined carbs and sugar, while the latter is a nutrient-dense whole food that's made out of healthy fats and protein. They're not the same, not even close. The other major problem is your body doesn't really count calories. You have no calorie counter in your stomach. So this idea that you can drink Diet Coke all day or use artificial sweeteners on everything because it's 0 calories, or eat highly processed low-calorie versions of foods, is an absolute pipe dream. Your body still has a physiological effect to those foods. You can't trick your body by drinking 0-calorie drinks or eating low-calorie food. Your body is a little bit smarter than that. It's more than just a mathematical equation. By the way, if you cut calories by just eating less, you are going to lose weight. It always works at the beginning, but your body is an adaptation machine. Over time, it's going to adapt by lowering your metabolism. Then you'll have to cut even more calories to keep losing weight. Then you have to resort to eating more low-calorie food, which again are extremely processed. The more processing your food goes through, the worse it is for you. You keep doing this until you hit the dreaded weight loss plateau. You're not losing weight anymore, even though you're barely eating anything. And worst of all, you're starving. And you can only rely on your willpower for so long when you cut calories and you're always hungry, because at that point, you're just fighting your physiology, and your physiology will always win. When you run out of willpower, and you will, that's usually when the floodgates open up and people switch to the seafood diet. They see food, they eat it. That is literally the definition of yo-yo dieting. You lose weight at the beginning, but then you eventually put it back on time and time again. Eating less and just cutting calories simply doesn't work long term. Hey, comment below if you can relate. This, by the way, is why I'm never impressed whenever I see a miraculous 8-week transformation. Anybody can do that. Show me how you look 8 months later, because that usually tells a better story. By comparison, this is how I look 8 years later after my initial transformation. What I'm trying to say is you want long-term sustainable results when it comes to this. But there are levels to this. If you want to lose fat and actually keep it off, you need to abolish this made-up idea of meal times in your head. Let's just start with that. So in simple terms, if you wake up first thing in the morning and you're not hungry, don't eat. You're not gonna die if you skip a meal. Or if you end up eating breakfast and you're still full from that and it's lunchtime, you don't need to eat lunch. Just follow the simple rule. Eat when you're hungry, Don't eat if you're not hungry. Kids, by the way, inherently know this. If you have a toddler, for example, and they're not hungry, good luck feeding them. But we teach this out of them and we introduce meal times as they get older. But meal times, again, are completely made up. Think about animals in the wild, for example. Do you see a fat lion or fat cheetahs? Nope. They wake up and they don't really say, we should eat breakfast. No, they go out in the wild minding their own business. They go hunting. Sometimes they're successful and they get to eat. Sometimes they're not and they don't get to eat. Now, you're probably thinking, cool story, bro, but we're not animals. Well, let me do you one better. Think about our Paleolithic ancestors. We evolved as human beings 2.5 million years ago through the harshest conditions this planet had to offer. Think about the Ice Age. You can bet that our hunter-gatherer ancestors didn't wake up first thing in the morning and think, gee, we better eat breakfast before we start the day. Nope, it's the exact same thing. They went out to hunt. If they're successful, they get to eat. If they're not, they don't get to eat. They were forced to fast and tap into their stored energy for fuel. And guess what? They survived. If we didn't have the capability to tap into stored energy when food was scarce, we would not have survived as a species. Simply put, the human body, through evolution, is actually designed to fast. In fact, a lot of amazing things happen when we take a break from eating, aka when we do intermittent fasting. For example, it improves mental clarity and concentration. It induces fat loss. It lowers blood sugar levels. It improves insulin sensitivity. It increases energy. It lowers blood cholesterol. It reduces inflammation. It helps prevent Alzheimer's disease. It even reverses the aging process and so much more. And it's free. Fat loss honestly might be the least impressive benefit of fasting when you consider all the improvements in your biomarkers. I always like to say that if the benefits of intermittent fasting could be put in a pill, it would be the greatest blockbuster medication of all time, right next to exercise. And again, they're both free. Now, a common objection by a lot of people why they don't want to skip a meal is they get hungry or hangry, or they get dizzy, they get headaches, or they don't have any energy. That's actually perfectly normal because they're sugar burners. That, by the way, is the definition of metabolic inflexibility. Your body only feels that way because you've trained it to expect food at certain times and you've become carb dependent, which means you can also train it to go the other way around. There's obviously an adaptation period. It takes time to become metabolically flexible again, where you become a fat burner, but you can train your body to be okay to skip breakfast. You can train it to skip lunch. It just takes a little bit of time. Think about it this way. The only people that benefit from eating 6 meals a day are food and pharmaceutical companies, big food and big pharma. The more often we eat, the more they profit. Over time, people get fat and sick from this way of eating. For example, 3 out of 4 American adults are in the overweight or obese category, and a mind-boggling 88% have some form of metabolic dysfunction. People eat themselves sick and have to be on medication eventually. Again, more money for big food and big pharma. But that's a completely different rabbit hole that we don't have to get into for this video. Now, let's talk about our learned behavior around food, because there is a big difference between eating when you're actually hungry versus just eating out of boredom or entertainment. Late night snacking is a perfect example of this, and I used to be guilty of it. I'd be watching TV and next thing you know, I would just mindlessly start snacking, even though I wasn't really hungry because I already had dinner. You need to get out of that habit. You need to stop using food as a form of entertainment. And this might be a tough pill to swallow for some people, but your life shouldn't just revolve around food. You're not a dog. Don't reward yourself with food. Now, here's a quick explanation on why this actually works. Otherwise, I'm just another jabroni spewing out bro science. This is how you react physiologically to food. Every time you eat, assuming that it's a blend of carbs, fat, and protein, your insulin goes up. That's your storing hormone. I talk about insulin a lot in my videos because it's the hormone that controls your body weight. It's important that you keep it moderated if you want any chance at losing fat. All you need to know is that high insulin blocks fat burning and your body shifts into fat storing mode. Your body is storing all the nutrients from the food you just ate. That's not necessarily a bad thing. The problem lies in the frequency. If you eat all day, if you eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you're eating snacks in between meals, your insulin stays high all day long, which also means you're in fat storing mode all day long. You're not really giving your body any reason to tap into stored energy. Are you with me so far? The good thing is the reverse is also true. Every time you don't eat, insulin stays low, and now your body actually gets a chance to tap into stored energy. Insulin is the switch. And this happens in 2 stages. Your body uses stored glycogen first. We have about 2,000 calories worth of it stored in our muscles and liver. After most of that gets used up, that's when fat burning happens. And you have about 100,000 calories worth of stored energy in the form of body fat waiting to be used. That's what it's there for. It's not just there for looks. You see this? This is energy. You just need to give your body a chance to access it by taking a long enough break from eating. Because you can bet that there is a world of difference how your body reacts physiologically if you eat 6 meals spread throughout the day. Again, you're in fat storing mode all day if you do that because insulin stays high, versus eating 2 meals, let's say, in a compressed eating window. Your insulin stays low for most of the day, which means you're in fat burning mode during that time. Your body only has to produce insulin twice in a compressed window. But here's the secret. If you pair intermittent fasting with a diet that also moderates insulin, that's when you start getting into accelerated fat loss. That's the secret, not the magic slimming tea that tastes like butt that your friend is trying to sell you. Here's how I want you to reframe this in your head. Let's say you skip breakfast. Just think of it as your body using stored energy for breakfast. If you want to double up your effort, work out in a fasted state. It's good for you. Also, the quality of your food matters a lot. Again, not all calories are created equal. Here's a simple rule I want you to follow. Stick to single ingredient foods 90% of the time. Specifically, single ingredient, mostly processed, nutrient-dense foods. I'm talking about whole foods. They also naturally keep insulin moderated. It's like we evolved to eat real food. Think about ground beef or a burger patty, for example. There's only one ingredient there. Beef. Same thing with eggs or chicken. This is why I have such a big problem with this whole plant-based movement, and I love using plant-based meat substitutes as an example here. Beyond Meat, for example, has something like 18 ingredients that you and I can't even pronounce. It's also been processed to the nth degree. You're not eating real food at that point. You're eating a food-like product. I like to call them frankenfoods. Whereas if you eat ground beef or a burger patty, there's only one ingredient there. Beef. A lot of experts like Paul Saladino and Sean Baker even make very compelling arguments that the optimal diet for humans is a mostly carnivore diet, and I don't disagree. That's actually my diet right now. If you want to eat those plant-based meat substitutes for ideological reasons, that's fine. That's your prerogative, but you can't possibly think that eating a food-like product is better than eating real food. It's just not. The point that I'm trying to make here is that nothing trumps eating nutrient-dense real food. The bioavailability of the nutrients in meat is also night and day compared to plants. Kale is not a superfood. And your meals doesn't have to be complicated here. For example, eggs and bacon, or some sort of unprocessed animal meat and some non-starchy vegetables. For dessert, how about macadamia nuts, cheese, or a couple of squares of dark chocolate? Rinse and repeat and watch the pounds come off. And by the way, this does not have to be expensive. Think about it this way. If you skip a meal or two, you automatically save money, which you can then use to buy higher quality food. Less, but better. And your health is absolutely worth it. The number one cause for bankruptcy in the US, for example, is healthcare costs. People getting sick and not being able to pay their bills, which means that your health should be your number one priority, always. You only get one body and you have to live in it. You might as well take care of it. Now, I'd be lying to you if I told you that I didn't enjoy the occasional treat. In fact, I usually have one every week and I love it. I personally love cheesecake. I just follow the 90-10 rule when it comes to this, which drastically increases adherence, so you can do this long term. 90% of the time, follow everything I mentioned in this video. The other 10%, live your best life. Have whatever you want. At the end of the day, if you want something you've never had before, you need to be willing to do something you've never done before. You need to be willing to change. New identities requires new evidence. If you keep casting the same votes you've always cast, you're gonna keep getting the same results you've always had. If nothing changes, nothing is gonna change. The next question then becomes, how are you actually supposed to eat if you want to lose weight? Because here's the thing, 80% of your body composition is determined by your diet. You can't just freestyle this part. Do you have a proven plan that you can follow? To help you with that, I want to give you a free copy of my Lean Body Blueprint. This is how I was finally able to get rid of all my unwanted body fat without depriving myself of my favorite foods or spending countless hours at the gym. It's a simple 4-step process specifically designed for busy professionals, and it's the exact same blueprint that I teach to all my students, and they've all gone to see some amazing results. If you want to be the next success story, then download your free copy of the Lean Body Blueprint right now. There's going to be a link somewhere at the top here or in the description box. Just click on it, type in your email, and I'll send it to you right away. Guys, I hope you learned a lot in this video. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and share it with your friends. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I post a new video every week. And hey, leave a comment below if you have any questions about this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Virtual high five.